Okay, well, like Brooke said, good morning. We wish it was a little warmer and sunnier, but that's okay. That's supposed to be coming this weekend. So container gardening, a great way to grow your veggies and flowers. And as you can see, that's a small, probably 2-gallon pot full of peas doing really well. I'll just leave it on there. So of course, with everything, you want to make a good plan. What do you want to grow? So veggies for salads, for cooking, and some herbs, or do you want flowers for color and to attract the pollinators and to discourage pests? Figure that out. And then how much sunny space do you have? So 6 to 8 hours is considered full sun. 4 to 6 hours is partial sun. And then you can even grow some in less than 4 hours of sun. And then what size container do you need? So depending on what you grow, you need at least 6 inches to 12 inches deep. And then what type of soil should you use? Always well-drained potting soil is preferred for container gardening. Topsoil is not good. Sorry. There we go. So veggies, flowers, and herbs, easy to grow, easy to harvest, and best of all, no weeds. What veggies and herbs to plant in containers? So your minimum soil depths for healthy plants in containers. At 4 to 5 inches, you can plant chives, coriander, basil, radishes, lettuce, and other salad greens. And then you need 6 to 7 inches for garlic, kohlrabi, onions, peas, mint, thyme, Asian greens, and bush beans. And then 8 to 9 inches deep for carrots, chard, pole beans, eggplant, leeks, peppers, spinach, parsley, and rosemary. And then you need 10 to 12 inches for broccoli, cauliflower, okra, potatoes, squash, beets, sweet corn, and dill. And then you want to create fun combinations in plantings. So you can create theme pots. So a spaghetti pot would have your Italian herbs, some Roma tomatoes. You can make combinations like that. Have a lot of fun with it. You can combine plants that have similar needs in water, fertilizer, and light. So good companion plants are the lists over to the right. So beans, carrots, and squash grow well together. Eggplants and beans do well. Lettuce and herbs. Spinach with chard and onions. Tomato and basil and onions do well together. And then sage, thyme, and rosemary do really well together because they all have about the same water needs and same fertilizer. And then the combinations you want to avoid putting together are beans with onions and garlic, tomato with potato, squash with potato, onions with beets and beans and peas, and then carrots with dill or fennel. And then single plantings. You can see on the left, that bok choy is beautiful. It's ready to harvest. And then on the right there, the eggplant is doing really well in a container. And then how much light for healthy plants? This is a great chart that I have a copy of this at home. I forget occasionally, you overwinter and you forget things, and then I have to refer back to these charts. So if you have just 3 to 4 hours of light, you can grow the Swiss chard, lettuce, parsleys, arugula, and Asian greens. So basically leafy plants, you can use less light. And then with your root crops, your beets, carrots, potatoes, also some broccoli, radishes, and turnips, you need 4 to 6 hours of light. And then for high sunlight, 6 to 8 hours, that's basically when you have fruit on a plant. So peppers, tomatoes, watermelon, okra, eggplant, and strawberries. So anything with a hanging fruit. And then companion planting. You can do herbs and flowers. They're small and easy to tend, as well as healthy and delicious. In your tomatoes, you can do herbs and flowers. The flowers help ward off some pests. So marigolds are really good about that. Alyssum also helps ward off some pests. And then on the last picture, we have peppers with coneflowers. It just makes a really pretty combination. Plus, you've got those nice edible peppers there. So a good tip to create great looking containers is a filler, a thriller, and a spiller. So your filler is your main fill-in plant, of course. Your thriller is your focal point, your height or your showpiece, your dahlia or your foxglove, something like that. And then your spiller is something that trails over, like creeping jenny, lobelia, sweet potato vine. So that's just a great combination to remember: your filler, thriller, and spiller for your really pretty baskets and containers. And then keep in mind the height, the spread, the colors, and the textures as you're filling your containers. So again, your filler, thriller, and spiller. It's easy to plant yourself, plan and plant, and then water and fertilize. It's that easy. And then you want to imagine the plants fully grown as you're planting according to heights and spread. The soil you use will make a difference. So the soil you choose should be a potting soil. Garden soil or topsoil doesn't offer enough air, water, drainage, or nutrients. You want to customize the mix to suit your plants. So if you're planting succulents, you want to throw in a little bit of gravel or sand for really good drainage. And then we'll talk about other containers and what type of soil to use. So organic or not organic. If you choose, you can plant edibles in organic soil. It's not a necessary expense for flowers, though. And then potting soil is a combination of perlite, vermiculite, peat moss, and sometimes coir, so a cocoa coir, to help retain moisture. This is great for most container plantings. And then ProMix HP is a high porosity soil for containers. It contains extra perlite for drainage. Carrots and radishes like loose soil. Mediterranean herbs like a soil that dries out between waterings, so a bit of perlite will help. And then begonias don't like wet feet, so they do best in really well-drained soils, which would have a little extra perlite in it. And then for plants that do well with extra moisture, you can add some of the cocoa coir or the water retention beads to help hold in moisture. And then more on soil. So use what the pros use. Most greenhouses use ProMix. It's a peat-based mix with vermiculite, perlite, and mycorrhiza. This adds to root growth. So there's mycorrhiza found naturally in all of our soils, just at a very low, there's a low content. So by adding a little mycorrhiza, you're really helping get those roots established so that you have healthy plants. Healthy roots give you healthy blooms and healthy yield. The Seacoast Enliven potting soil, it's a high quality biodynamic organic soil containing compost, cocoa coir, perlite, langbeinite, kelp meal, and biochar. The compost is top quality and organic. So they have both a potting soil and a compost, the Seacoast name. And then the Ocean Forest and Strawberry Fields, those are Fox Farm products. They're great soils with organic matter, worm castings, bat guano, crab meal, and more. And then the Strawberry Fields is formulated for big blooms. So if you're doing baskets that you want big blooms, your begonias, your petunias, the Strawberry Fields is a really good soil. And you can reuse your soil unless you had rot, disease, or insect problems. You want to break up any roots, add some conditioners like compost and amendments, and then mix the soil really well and plant. Buying a good soil in the beginning is worth the investment. Cheap or poor soil can keep your plants from thriving. So soils and additives. So ProMix BX, top left, is your general purpose ProMix. To the right is the HP, which is higher porosity. It contains more perlite. In the center or the middle there, we have the blue bag. That's the natural and organic soil conditioner and raised bed soil. It's got biochar and all kinds of good amendments in it. There's a picture there of our Seacoast compost and Seacoast potting soil. On the end is a good starter fertilizer for flowers, new lawns, new gardens. The 83216, that high middle number, is what you need for your good root establishment and your big blooms. And then at the bottom here, we have the down-to-earth fertilizers. They're all-purpose, bone meal and kelp meal. They're all OMRI or organic, and you just careful combining your NPKs on those. Use what's appropriate for your plants. And then you can also buy the black gold small bags of perlite if you want to add extra perlite for extra drainage to some soil that you already have, or to a bag of soil that you may have bought that you don't think has enough perlite for drainage. And next to that is the two-full organic compost. That's great for adding to raised beds. You can combine it with some of your potting mix if you want to for, say, tomatoes, for celery, for other plants like that. And then that's a brick of the coconut core fiber. It comes in a little brick that you have to soak, and then it breaks apart, and you can add that to your potting mix if you want to help retain moisture in your container. Add organic amendments for veggie plantings. So an all-purpose veggie fertilizer is an easy additive. It has a low NPK numbers, so you'll have to fertilize often. So often, depending on how much you water or how much rain you get, those nutrients get flushed through and used up by the plant. So as you see the plant starting to look lackluster or maybe not as green, it's time to fertilize again with those organic fertilizers. And if you want to add your own mix, you can choose blood meal for nitrogen, kelp meal for microorganisms, add langbonite for 3 essential nutrients, potassium, magnesium, and sulfur. And then you can add bone meal for added calcium, and that's essential for your tomatoes and peppers. The Arctic Grow 83216 is a good fertilizer for planting flowers, veggies, and new grass seed. The high middle number helps with the root development, and it is made by Alaska Mill and Feed here in our fertilizer plant located right behind our garden center. Everything that you see that's Arctic Grow out in the retail world, that's made here, right here at our fertilizer plant. And then the basic understanding of the NPK, the 3 numbers found on fertilizers and amendments. So the first number is your nitrogen. Nitrogen is associated with foliage growth and green leafy tops. So we call that your up, your growth. The second number, phosphorus. Phosphorus is needed to transfer energy where it is needed from leaves to roots and developing fruit, flower, and seed. So that's your down, your roots. And then the third number is potassium. Potassium, or potash, is a regulator of distribution of water throughout the plant and root development. So that's your all around. So your up, your down, and your all around is an easy way to remember your nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium and how they help your plants. So phosphorus and potassium are also essential for leaf, root, and stem development, but in lesser amounts. These 2 elements are critical in the first 2 months of growth. When the soil warms, they are available to the plant. So generally anything, any fertilizer, any chemical that you use really doesn't become active until about 60 degrees. Keep that in mind as you're planting and you're growing things. And then your nitrogen is applied as a side dressing later in the season to prevent yellowing of leaves and stems. You don't want to give any root crops too much nitrogen. So with carrots, if you give them a lot of nitrogen, you're going to get more carrot top than you do carrot fruit, you know, the vegetable. So just watch giving root crops too much nitrogen. And then, you know, your containers. Good drainage applies to the container also. Does your container have enough drain holes? If not, some gravel in the bottom helps. So to the left is the 30-inch pot. You want to fill it with soil. Do not use a filler in the bottom when growing veggies. A lot of people say they put crushed up bottles or styrofoam peanuts or something like that to take up space in the bottom. But if you're growing veggies, some vegetables are going to need that extra space for their roots, and they're not going to do well if they get down to your layer of plastic bottles or styrofoam peanuts. Fill it with soil. And then the color bowl container, that's a little bit shallower, but it's great for lettuce, herbs, or annuals. And then there at the bottom is a deck rail pot, and those are great for herbs or flowers. We have all those containers available here at our garden center. And then these are just some photos. So at the top left, they've got an entire greenhouse of containers, peppers and tomatoes that all do well in pots. And then at the bottom there is just some different assorted veggies and strawberries, all growing in containers. And on the right is a big bag long bed. Those are great container gardens. I think usually we have those at Mill and Feed. We might be out right now, but we hope we get some more of those in. But those cloth bags work really well also. And then thank you for attending the class. We appreciate you shopping local. We have experts on staff to answer your garden and pet questions. Our local growers are bringing in plants several times a week until mid-June. The tomato and pepper greenhouse is stocked, as well as the flower house and the herb house. Outside, we have trees, shrubs, berries, perennials, annuals, and veggie starts. And we have a good selection of containers, window boxes, baskets, and more to create your own beautiful container garden. So are there any questions? I am working at the store today, noon to 4. I'm also here tomorrow, noon to 4. So if you want to come in and you have any questions, or you're looking for a specific soil amendment or something to help with pests, you can ask one of us, and we're always happy to help you out. So I hope that you enjoyed the presentation. It will be available via the recording, and I'll let Brooke take over from here.
Well, thank you so much for joining us again today. We do have another class this afternoon, planting your own color bowl at 1 o'clock. And we do have a few more classes this year, correct? We got a couple more perennial classes and things like that. Again, you can just sign up online at AlaskaMillAndFeed.com. And once I end this class, we'll upload the recording to YouTube, and we'll email that out to everybody. And again, feel free to share that link. Thank you so much.